1 second. Quick question, can you guys hear me? That's the other question. Let's see what they say. Oh, itchy nose.
No.
See if I can get some feedback here. Sorry about this, guys. Ah, so they can hear me. Ah, they can hear me, but not Andy. Well, that's really weird because I can hear you, Andy, so they should be able to hear you. Look at this. I come on the podcast. The very first time I come on the podcast, and it all goes tits up. Very strange. We'll get it sorted out right away, guys. Just bear with. How is everyone anyway? How are things? You can see that's Andy's really concentrating face. He's like super focused. TC said, add an audio input straight to OBS. I'm good, thanks, Paul. I'm good. Thank you for your suggestions you sent me. Definitely going to think about implementing some of those, if not maybe all of those. So we're going to take those on board, and I'll discuss with Andy what you'd mentioned, and we'll look to put some of that stuff in for next season. It's all really good suggestions, so we appreciate it.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me on the stream? Let's hope you can. I think you should be able to now.
And then you got to wait for the 10-second delay.
Should be able to, yeah. Hopefully now I've got the audio covered.
Woohoo! Yay!
There we go. So welcome, guys. Obviously, after that little bit of a technical issue at the start there, welcome to Round 10 podcast. Good job there, Tom, for standing in. All good job. So as you can see, I am not joined by Dave here tonight. I'm joined by Tom and our Overlord. So Dave's predisposed on other things, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to be as good as it always is, the podcast. So we do have Mr. James Logsdon as an interviewee tonight, so he is on the box. So we're going to see where it is. But before we get to James, let's look at the last round, round 10, around the Red Bull Ring. A very tricky track. Everybody loves the Red Bull Ring, but the incidents... To get the incidents on the Red Bull Ring is so easy, and I think we had so many drivers that were on 19X by the end of the hour-long race. And I think we did have a few drivers doing a drive-through on 20 penalties. So it was a very tricky track. And obviously, Tom, you were racing in the Red Bull, the round of the Red Bull. How was it for you?
Yeah, good. Sketchy at times. Way too easy to get off tracks there. It feels like a Austrian Spa, basically. I had 19x with about 15 minutes to go, I think. So that definitely damaged my pace a little bit. But yeah, no, some good driving, like nice and clean, and everybody being fairly respectful, and some exciting incidents. But yeah, no, a good round, definitely a good round. Nice because there's lots of room you can pass, and there's lots of good places where you can come into the braking zone and go 2-3 wide if you really want to. It's not anything too crazy, but if you lose the slipstream of the bigger packs, then it can really sort of hinder you keeping up with everybody. So, but no, it was a good round. I enjoyed it. Definitely enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously looking at the different classes, we had the pro class. At the start of the race, we had about six drivers that were pretty much in a train for a long one. Then we had an incident, which I think we are going to look at tonight on the incidents, that pretty much smashed up the pro field. We had Thomas Cope, who's was one of the contenders, had a really good Daytona previous round, really on a charge, got caught up slightly in that incident and got some damage from that, had to pit, and then it just went bad to worse there for Thomas. And then we had Aaron Powell, who I think got caught out by the dreaded pit lane crew, as we would call them, the 42nd in the pit lane, and pretty much put pay to him. So, from a race point of view, I think Scott really profited from them slight incidences there, seemed to keep his nose clean, and then by the end of the race had a pretty much a commanding win, but didn't really have his own race. And one of the highlights for that from the pro field is having the Ford GT3 sat on the podium in P3 overall. I mean, I don't think we've had any other league that's been able to do that out there, to actually have a Ford GT sitting on the top three of the track.
Yeah, it's true. We like to be different in Performance Link, as everybody can attest to. We don't always get it right, but we've got 4 GTs on the podium, so that's a big win. It was an interesting race in the pros, definitely, and I think Aaron's jumped Thomas in the standings now, hasn't he? By, is it 3 or 4 points?
Yes.
3 points, I think. So yeah, that's really going to spice things up, and obviously with Scott having shoulder surgery coming up. That's going to really affect potentially what happens for the last few rounds, and now the prizes are sort of coming into it, and there's money on the line and actual real world bits and pieces and trophies and everything. It's going to start getting really spicy for the last few rounds. So looking forward to it, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And then we had the pro-am battle between James Longton, Michael Hooper, and Alexander Scarrett. And then obviously the Team Bear Poop guys were right at the front, and they had that pesky IGL Coatings player just behind him of Alex, and he was really pushing them on. I mean, they pretty much had the race sewn up at the front, but they had to somehow deal with how they were going to control Alex, who was behind him in third place overall. But unfortunately, I think Alex put the kibosh on himself and sort of let the Team Bearpool guys off the hook. And I'm quite surprised, actually. And when we get James in, we'll find out a little bit more. But James is obviously in that. It was in 4th place in there. Has really been on a charge, and basically I'm quite surprised that Michael didn't give up that 1st place. So clearly no team orders there over in Team Bearpool, but it'd be interesting to find out, was the conversation had.
Yeah, I think Michael's very, very fast. James is annoyingly fast. Yeah, I know you can hear me, James. I'll be on in a second. And all the all the Team Bear Pope guys and everyone running in the front of Pro-Am are way too fast. So if you guys can slow it down for us, am Pro-Ams, that would be fab. So, actually, Michael's just said hello in the chat. So hello, Michael. Good evening. So I'm just slating you guys, saying you're all too fast. So it's a good time to jump in. So, yeah. But yeah, no, they're doing a fabulous job in Pro-Am at the moment. They really are. They're just they're just running away with it, aren't they? Or trying their best to. So, but when you've got two teammates together, you can easily make your cars nice and wide. So, only difference is if they were driving the GTE BMW, they wouldn't have to, would they? Because that thing's a bloody monster. So. So that's the only difference, but yeah, no, they're doing really, really well. So props to them, and hopefully they got some trophies and some goodies coming their way if they can keep it together.
Yeah, and then we've got the AM battle. Steve Pierce had an excellent round at the Red Bull Ring. That BMW, he controlled it super well. Obviously, in second place in the championship, closing the gap. I mean, that's going to be a super close championship in the AMs as well. You know, that's not sealed up either.
Yeah, no, the Anfield's really close actually for the top sort of two positions at the moment between Sander and Steve. So I don't know who to put my money on at the moment. I think I want to put my money on Steve, but Sander's really come on strong in the second half of the championship from what I've seen. Just way more consistent than a few of the other guys, and really putting pedal to the metal there and striving forward. But I think my money's on Steve for this one, so hopefully don't prove me wrong. That would be bad.
And then we got the rookie class. You know, unfortunately, we had around about 15 cars sign up at the beginning, but it's sort of come down to almost like a 3-horse race at the moment. We've got Matthew Gerard, our very own Paul Joseph Clist. And we've got Lewis McLeveny, who wasn't there at the Red Bull Ring, so really missed a really good opportunity to close in on the front two, because he seems to have the pace. The consistency, I think, is maybe his bit where he's lacking. Is he's super got the pace to probably be up a class above, but then he has these odd mistakes when the few rounds that he's been in. But obviously Lewis wasn't there for the Red Bull Ring, and it was between Matthew and Paul. Now Matthew seemed to have the pace over Paul for the race, all through the practice, through the qualifying, out-qualified Paul. And I think Paul was just basically trying to keep him in distance, considering he is the current leader out in the rookie class. But the race sort of unfolded. I think Matthew had a little bit of a trouble in the pit stops. Paul managed to overshoot the pit stop from Matthew by 3 laps. Taking 4 seconds out of his pit stop time compared to Matthew, and literally ended up in front of him and was able to keep that lead. So I think that was a bit of a shock to Paul, to be able to win that rookie class. But even though it's only a small field, Tom, it's super competitive, and the guys that are in there fighting for it are there or thereabouts. So, you know, even though it's only a small pod of, say, 3 cars at the moment, it's super competitive, and it's going to go all the way to the last round, I think.
Yeah, the rookie guys have been really good to get into the championship, honestly, because you don't normally have a rookie class, and it opens it up to people that aren't necessarily that experienced in running league races. And I haven't been in iRacing that long. I think 2 years in total now, and I remember my first league race, and it was terrifying. So it's nice to get people in and for people to get experience, and at least they're battling with people that aren't just bombing off down the road ahead of them and they can't keep up. So that that's like me chasing Michael Hooper and James.
James yeah. I know what your game is, though, Tom. You're trying to vie for season 2 to get demoted to I know your game's Overlord.
Don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody.
You know, it was a.
But yeah, no. I was going to say that I know Paul's been really consistent. That's the key, isn't it, to these championships? That's how you get the wins. You just got to show up every week and not put it in the wall and not do a Thomas Cope. Oh, sorry, didn't say that.
He done a double trouble though. He actually got he was part of the 1 minute crew. There was 4 of them. I think it was Aaron Powell, Thomas Cope, Russ Fowler, our very own Russ Fowler, and I forgot who the other one. It was an AM driver, James Vark. Jimmy Vark.
Yeah, Jimmy Vark.
So there was 4 of them that did it, and not only to add to Mr. Copes as well, he actually had a 20+ drive-through as well. So
oh god,
he had the Grand Slam as well, and it was probably a round to forget. So for him,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure our voyeurs are sick of hearing our voices at the moment. So what we'll do is we'll bring in James to get his view on that race, and also the season so far, what he's enjoyed, and you'll see in a minute is a rather excellent rig that I'm pretty sure we're getting through. But without further ado, let's look at getting James in. Hi James, and welcome to the pit stop. How has it been for you? And did you have a good festive period?
Hi, thanks for having me on the podcast today. To answer the first question, I mean, I think the league's been pretty fantastic. This is actually the first league that I joined outside of doing official series essentially. So I was kind of nervous going into it, not really sure what to expect. But I think there's been the growing pains of it being a new series and all that. But I think everybody running the series has done a great job of being dynamic and kind of like you know paying attention to where the problem spots have been and things like that. Just looking back earlier on at the start of the season, I definitely had some struggles in the first several races. Had some of my own mistakes, had some incidents with pros that kind of like led me into not having good races, things like that. So I've been really fortunate that the second half has started to really go a lot better for me and things like that. And then for the holiday break, it was really nice and quiet for me. This is the first year I didn't do any travel or anything, so I just did a lot more sim racing while I stayed at home, which was really fantastic.
You weren't caught up in all the snow that you had over there over the Christmas period, were you?
We actually got lucky. All the snow was down in New York. We had barely any up where I live.
No.
So.
So there's always one silver lining. So one of the questions I always ask our interviewees is basically how did you start, or how did you get into iRacing? And then obviously we can see your rig behind us. Take us through what you actually started driving iRacing with, and what that monster rig behind you is all about.
Yeah, sure. So I think this is a pretty common trend at this point, but I started iRacing back in about 2021, I think. So basically right in the middle of the pandemic and everything going on. I've always been a fan of like racing games and things like that, but always in the past was more into just playing arcade racers with like a controller and things like that. And then one of my buddies that I play a lot of video games with, as everything kind of started, shutting down and things like that, was like, hey, we should come up with something to do that's a little different. So we started playing Dirt Rally 2 a lot, and that's when I got a Logitech. I forget what it's called. The Logitech entry level steering wheel.
G29.
Yeah, G29.
G29, that's the one. So I got that. Was having tons of fun with it and everything, and we started playing iRacing probably about a year after we started actually like just playing around with some other sims like Truck Simulator and things like that. The first 6 months was probably just doing private sessions with my friends. We were just kind of like screw around, do ovals with each other and things like that, just to have some fun. And then probably summer of 2021 is when I really started being like, okay, well, I should go out and do some officials and actually really get into it. And since then, it's become basically my full-time hobby. Like, I obviously have work I do, but then if I'm not working, I'm probably doing something related to my sim racing stuff. And just kind of gone full force into it, which has led me to building out this gigantic rig that I have now. So now I'm running a CSL DD with the Formula One 2.5X rim, which I really like. I also have a round rim for whenever I do like dirt racing or ovals or anything like that. I run the triple monitor setup, which has been really nice. I started out actually playing in VR, but I have a hard time wearing that headset for more than like 45 minutes at a time, and I really like doing endurance races, and so those two things didn't really align. And so I just kind of decided, all right, well, I'm just going to go all in and do the 3 monitor thing. And so now I've done a 4-hour Nürburgring endurance championship race solo, things like that. So that's been a really fun experience. For my pedals, I'm using still in the Fanatec ecosystem at this point. I've got the Club Sport V3 pedals. With the nice brake enhancement kit and all that good stuff going on with it. And then for the rig itself, I got a Track Racer TR120, one of those nice extruded aluminum rigs going on. This is replacing, basically, I had a Next Level Racing GT cockpit for a while, but as I got into the CSL DD and the higher braking force with all the brake kit and everything like that, I started having flexing issues with the frame, and after a while it just got a little annoying to deal with the flexing, and so just decided Track Racer had a great deal like 2 months ago. I think it was all of November basically, and so I was like, screw it, I'll do it. So I've been really happy with the setup at this point. It's kind of just been slowly building it out into kind of my cocoon, as it were, for whenever I get into the sim racing.
Yeah. I think that is. I think that's a growing theme. You speak to any iRacer, they normally start off on something like the G29, fixed to a desk in a computer chair to what you've got behind you, and although it's still cheaper than the actual real life racing, it does get considerably expensive. And I'm going to put a sort of value behind you of close to nearly 5k, not £5,000, which is probably around about $8,000 plus on sort of money in there. But we won't embarrass you to say
it is PC dependent. Got to see the PC. You got to see the
I was
PC.
about to say. It's got. I'm running a 3090 with a AMD 5950X right now. So
bump the price up a bit. Yeah, bump that price up.
Yeah. Same computers I've got that set up, but unfortunately, I haven't raced since last October. I need to sort that out. That's my last official race.
That one.
It is, isn't it? I'm too busy commentating for the Overlord. You know what I mean? He's got me whipped quite well. But also, we found out by quite a few other people on the podcast. We got one that makes his own rigs. We got musicians and all different bits. Is there anything that we should know about you, of a hobby that probably nobody knows in the series?
Yeah. So I mean, actually, I am a musician. I guess I play drums. So I have a drum set off in one of the other rooms over there. And that was very much my passion when I was much younger. But I kind of took the avenue of it's easier to make money as a software engineer. So I do that professionally. And then I've kept the music stuff as kind of like a hobby thing and just kind of screw around with it and things like that. But that's the other thing that kind of like takes up a good deal of my time, is just playing around on the drums, basically. I haven't been in a band in a long time, but it's not something I look for at this point.
I reckon we could have our podcast band, because I think there's you that can play the drums. We've got Lydia that can play the accordion, and then I'm sure somebody else could play the guitar. Tom can play the guitar. We just need a lead singer, and unfortunately, I'm not going to volunteer because I'm totally. Although I am extremely good looking, I just haven't got a tone in my head for a singing voice. So
sometimes all you need is the looks, though, and that'll be enough.
Depends on what we play. If it's heavy metal, we're just screaming down a mic. I can pretty much do that. I think I can do. But
that's like you're commentating in, Andy.
Whoa.
Oh!
Shocking. Auto tune to the rescue. I like you, Michael. I think that'll work really well. I think I'll be like a Michael Bublé sort of singer. I reckon I've got the
there we go. And they've done a lot of work on doing remote streaming, playing together kind of technology over the years. So like it's totally possible to have a fully remote band play live together these days.
We're gonna have to do it, aren't we, for the end of season pit stop? Get us all on and have a bit of a jamming session on that.
Well, you're going to make me get off my butt and actually set up all the recording stuff on my drum set.
Well, you are the software engineer, mate, so but talking about, obviously, getting back to the iRacing stuff then, obviously you're a part of Team Bear Pulp. I want to commend you, and I don't know who does it, and you can obviously let us know and shout him out who it is. Who does your liveries? And that person must be extremely busy, because you seem to have a different livery for every single round.
So we actually have a couple people that do the liveries in our team. So one of them, he goes by Fellblade. He's not in the league racing with us, but he does a ton of our paints. Michael Huper also does a good number of paints. So the Japan Pope that we did, that special paint, he made that one. I think the main driver around that one was we did the 10 Hours to Suzuka, and then since we also had some more Japan races coming on, he was like, I'm gonna put together a special paint for that. But I think it's also worth pointing out that Jimmy Vark and a couple of other people are very keen eyes and give a lot of feedback to those people doing those paints. For better or worse, I think they always turn out fantastic. And so I'm really appreciative of all the work that Fellblade, Michael Huber, Jimmy, all those people put into the paints. I think they've done a great job kind of like building up the brand and have a consistency across the board while also really flashy, nice designs.
Yeah, so
they're often out pretty quickly.
I suppose you would say that normally the paint designers are often the unsung heroes, but obviously you mentioned Jimmy, you mentioned Michael there. Michael running high in that Pro-Am field at the moment. Jimmy's enjoying himself down in the AMs, should we say, after moving downwards, and yourself, like you say, riding high at the moment. Let's have a look at the championship at the moment. So we did mention just before you came on about obviously the Red Bull Ring. You and Michael out front pretty much had it sewn up. Obviously you did have Alexander Scaret of IGL Coatings behind you for quite a bit after the pit stops. What was the train of thought when you were going there? And then At the end of the race, how come there was no team orders? You gained extra few points to close the gap on second place.
Yeah, so I thought it was pretty funny when I watched back on the stream. After Michael Hooper came out, ended up basically in front of everybody from that pit stop. You mentioned something about they were probably wondering where the hell he came from, and that was the exact question I asked myself. I was like, where did he come from? Because I thought he was maybe like involved in an incident or something, because he just disappeared off my relative at some point. Fortunately, it turns out he was just a couple spots down and doing the draft and everything like that. Alexander did a really great job. I was actually really worried about our battle with him. He's not quite, I think, that in contention, I think, at this point for the championship at this point. So it wasn't a huge concern if he like ended up winning the race. Obviously, us winning is far better. So he definitely kept us on our toes the whole way, especially at the end. And I think Michael mentioned in the interview at the end of the race, he was running out of fuel there at the end. So if Alexander hadn't wrecked himself, that ending would have been very different. We would have changed strategies for sure. And so the bit about there being no team orders or things like that. So as I mentioned earlier on, I'm not going to be around for the final race, with the delayed Fuji race. And since I'm just a little bit behind still, I decided this wasn't a team orders thing. This is just me internally deciding to do this, where I thought it was better to make sure that Michael got the win so he could extend his lead just a little bit more, just to make sure we kind of like solidify that
I don't think
there.
he needs to extend it anymore. I think his main rival, Patrick, unfortunately, has sort of fallen away a little bit. And now the rest of the field are actually catching Patrick. I mean, there's yourself. I think you're 1 point behind Patrick now.
I am
in the championship in third. So I suppose it's a pity that Fuji round went the way it was, to be able to. If you're unfortunately going to miss it, but you never know. You may find your circumstances changing and able to come into that. But you certainly come on, and you mentioned it at the start. This is your first league racing. So one of the things I'd like to talk about is how have you found the differences between the officials and the league racing, and then also. We've sort of seen you grow throughout the 10 rounds that we've had, or 9 official rounds that we've actually had. In that, at the start, I suppose you were trying to find your feet, but certainly since after, say, round 5, you've really kicked in and started to be at the front end of the field. So what's been the step change? And has that been more psychological, or has it been you've just been putting in more practice?
So for the first bit, comparing this league, or really just leagues in general, because I'm a part of a couple others at this point, to officials, like officials in general, I find are a little bit more chaotic. Part of that is just, you're racing with essentially, there's going to be times when you can race with the same people over and over again, but like you're racing with a bunch of different people. You just don't know how they drive. And so like you can't build up that like understanding of how another person is going to behave whenever you're in certain situations, things like that you can do in a league, which is one of the things I've really appreciated about joining these leagues. And so, after I joined this one, I quickly joined like 2 others, basically because I found out I liked it so much, and basically stopped driving officials for a while. But it's been really nice, I think, just being able to have that opportunity to race with the same individuals constantly and kind of get an understanding of like, how they behave whenever you're trying to interact with them. Maybe I am considering doing maybe a little bit more risky of an overtake or something, but if you understand how that person is going to react to those situations, it's less risky of a situation to kind of like make those choices and things like that. So I've really appreciated that kind of aspect of leagues over official series and things like that. And then the second part of this, I think, was about kind of like how I kind of, earlier on was a little bit, I think finding my feet was probably a good way of putting it. And I think a lot of it really was just the mental game of, I've definitely put in more practice time, but a lot of it is just how you approach situations. And so, I don't mean to knock on the pros a lot. It's just happens to be the situation was I'd be up front, the pros would get in a wreck, and then I'd be involved in it. So it's just how races happen sometimes. But through part of that, I kind of like realized, okay, well, I should, make sure I'm giving a little bit more space and like kind of like recognizing when something may be going on and things like that, and how I can kind of react in a more appropriate situation to those kind of situations. And I think that's helped me a lot in just. One of the things I think that has come out of this is I'm not doing 0x incidents in races and things like that, but my incident count is always, I think, generally lower than most of the other people, at least in the Pro-Am field and things like that. And even at Red Bull Ring, I think I ended with 8, and almost all of those were in the first, 20 minutes or something like that, which was worrisome at first. I was like, oh no, I'm going to run out of incident points. This is going to be bad. And then I just cleaned it up for the rest of the race. And I think that just kind of translates to really how to become better at racing in general. Is it's 90% of it is a head game, putting yourself in a good headspace, making sure you aren't if you make a mistake, don't freak out about it. Just move on from that mistake and just drive like it didn't happen, and things like that. So
God, I wish. God.
It's hard to do that.
I think, like you were saying, though, half the time it's mental, but when you get into the league racing, it almost, once you get used to it, and obviously, Tom, you can come in on this one as well, is because you're racing against, exactly like you said, James, because you're racing against people after, let's say, the third round, you almost get used to the styles that they're going to do, and you get almost like a chemistry on track that you know what each of the drivers are going to do. And I suppose that makes it a lot better and a lot easier to race, because you know where you can make them sort of late lunges to be able to make them opportunities.
Yeah, and there's also a trust factor there, where as you build up the rapport with people on the track, you can build that trust as well, and you can follow somebody closer because you know they aren't gonna suddenly break when you aren't expecting them to break and things like that. So I think there's a lot more opportunity for really close racing if you have that trust that you can build up between the different drivers, and it's something we see in Bear Pope also does our own little internal league races every weekend, and we see that a lot where we all know each other pretty well. We all trust each other to not be complete idiots while racing. And so we end up, we'll go 4 wide through the S's and Watkins Glen. Doesn't always work out, but we'll try it. Whereas if you're anywhere else, even trying 4 wide somewhere like that is not ever going to work. So
Michael Hooper said, also James got better because he didn't want to get dunked on in our Bear Pope League races anymore.
So that's a really good point. And so Michael actually has been great, because ever since I joined the league and started basically doing the league races and everything, he's been my person that I chase. He's the one that I'm going after. And now I guess I'm at a point where I kind of am at the same pace with him, if not sometimes a little bit faster. So it kind of worked out a little bit.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
Well, I at least make sure to put enough fuel in my car. So. Pause the stream! Pause the stream! I can hear. Wait, I can hear Michael's keyboard. I can hear Michael's keyboard. I'm sorry, Michael. I love you.
So obviously, being part of a team, then. How have you found that, being in with the league racing? What are the advantages of that? Obviously the advantage has got to be you've got plenty of teammates around you. If you can have some decent race, share your experiences, I suppose, isn't it? I suppose does it enhance your league experience when you're a part of a team in the same league?
I think it does a little bit. So we don't tend to do any kind of team orders or anything like that. I think there was I think it might have been Silverstone was the first time that me and Michael actually discussed strategy live in the race, and we haven't really done it any other time from there. But just having those people, so this goes back to the building trust with all these other people in the race. But if you have other people that you're fighting for the win with instead of against, I think that kind of it makes it feel more of a shared experience. Because while I'm racing with all these other drivers who are fantastic on the track and everything, I don't interact with them all that much outside of random chatting on the Discord and things like that. So just having that extra layer on top, I think adds a lot to it.
Definitely. Well, James, thank you very much for joining us in the podcast. It's been interesting to find out we've now got our drummer and our software engineer for the podcast league band that will be for the last round of the season. But obviously, before we let you go, James, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I think this time I'm actually going to give a shout out to my dad. He's been watching every single one of these races, and we talk a lot about how the series has been going and everything like that. So I'm just going to say thanks, Dad, for being supportive.
Definitely. Well, thanks, Dad. You always got to look after the family, haven't you? But good luck in Interlagos on Sunday. Unfortunately, you're not there for Fuji, but I'm assuming you're there for the finale in Le Mans.
I do intend to be there. Yes.
Great.
Good,
Well,
good man,
it's-
good man.
Well, until Sunday, mate. Have fun, enjoy yourself, and you can now relax.
All right. Thank you.
Cheers, James.
Cheers, James.
So there was James. A very informative chat there with James, getting understanding a lot more about him, and it's really interesting. I know this is the first podcast that you've been on, Tom, but I'm pretty sure you've been watching them all. And what has been interesting is to find out a little bit more about drivers. I think you go into plenty of leagues, and you just racing drivers. The profanities may get shouted out on stream or in the private messages, and I suppose it's nice to get to know the drivers a little bit more. I mean, we found one that makes David Gill, who makes the wheels. We've got yourself, and I think Paul Joseph Cliss plays the guitar, so he'll be able to tell. I'm sure it was Paul that played the guitar as well. I think. I'm sure he'll and you know, all the other people that we've had on, and finding out we've had a Scottish karate championship in James Lewis McAvenny. So you know, we've had all sorts on here.
Yeah, it's nice to see the other side of people, you know, as opposed to just knowing their name or hearing their voice on Discord and that kind of thing. It's nice to put a face to the voice and a face to the car, essentially, and know what these people are like. You know, next time I see James, I'm gonna know Jesus is driving next to me, so I'll be sure to keep him close. So, but
Well, we had
but no,
Cody on from last week, and I think there's a beard off going on there between James and Michael.
I know,
Cody.
right?
think
I know what's going on.
There's some proper beards going on over there in the stateside.
It's all that snow they've had in New York.
It's got to be something. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not sure, but you know, let's get into the next part, which is looking at the dreaded penalties. So you're going to obviously read out the penalties, Tom. Looking at where we're at, Tom is going to be completely impartial unless obviously it does affect him. But I'm pretty sure that none of these do. So without further ado, let's move on.
Okay, first one. If I can open it up here.
So there we go. We are now in the session for the Red Bull Ring from last week. So Tom, if you want to call out the first one.
So the first one we have is race 1. Obviously, they're only race 1. Scott Mokes on Nikolai Thrain, lap 11. Turn 3, left no room on the exit, pushing me off track, then causing incidents, rejoining.
Yes.
Doesn't sound very good, does it?
Remember this one. Oh, maybe if I get off practice, it might work. I remember this one. I think it's here.
Would you be able to share your screen with me, Andy?
Oh yes.
That would be great. Sorry, I'm not set up like Dave.
Shocking.
No, I know. Just can't get the staff these days, can you?
I know. Let me just sort you out.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Where are you? Have to go into one of the chats, mate. So.
Yep. One sec.
Sorry about this, ladies and gents. Overlord is having some technical issues.
Meh. It happens. They're used to it by now. They're used to it.
There you go.
Okay.
Do you see that now?
I certainly can. Thanks, mate.
I think you just need to mute yourself on Discord, though, mate.
Done.
There we go. Right, so Nikolai Frame, lap 11, you say?
It was.
Here it is.
Yes. Lap
Okay.
11, turn 3.
Yes, so here we go. Let's have a look. On the outside. Let's have a look from the car behind. Our very own Mr. Cope. Let's have a look. So it goes around the outside, trying to get on the... Nikolai's got the inside line.
Yeah. Yeah, he's slightly in front as well on turning.
Still side by side though, so
Yes,
it's not
yeah.
like... and I think the problem is, because that curb there is pretty savage on this track, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's a bit of... Because Scott, if we look at it, Scott's always... Towards the apex of the corner, he's further back, but here he's sort of mid-pack to the car. You're always going to get that inside line going on the inside and basically taking it. But he's still side by side. Now, the only place for Scott to go is outside, and we saw, if you watch the video back, you've seen the amount of cars that hit this sausage curb.
Sausage curb, yeah.
And then just spin off. So I think my initial impression is it's a racing incident, because I think if we look at it at normal speed, Scott had an opportunity. He was still there. He wasn't out to back out. And then I think what unfortunately happened is obviously Nikolai came out of the corner, came across, didn't realise that Scott was right beside him still, and then that's what caused that chain of events.
Yeah, it looks like it actually looks like Nikolai was sort of coping with a bit of oversteer there. If you watch the rear end of Nikolai's car, I think he's getting a bit loose coming out of that corner. So I think he's battling with it here. Let's have a look.
No, I think it is.
Yeah, maybe.
No,
yeah.
I think it is the contact between the two drivers. Let's just have a look on board. So if I take this off, you might be able to see Scott in the corner. So
TC said, screen is too big on the resolution, Andy.
What?
I see what he's saying. Yeah, we're only seeing sort of like the driver's seat position on the actual YouTube stream.
So if I go to VHS.
Might need a re-squeeze on OBS. It's my fault. If Dave was here, you'd have it all covered and it would be all smooth. And,
It would be. It would be.
No issues.
Trying to sort you out. Let me have a look. See what I can do there. Screen share.
It's a nice close-up of Nikolai's car, though. Looks quite nice there.
It is, isn't it? It does.
Yeah. It's like a nice drift and obviously somebody dying in the background there.
See the gist of it. I'm not sure how to resize this actually.
On OBS.
Yeah. In fact, wait
If
a minute.
you-
Here it is. Sorry. There we go.
Oh, bingo. Bingo.
Sorry about
Okay.
that. I think I'll blame the person who did the JSON for it. So hopefully now you'll be able to sort of see, so it'll be a lot better. So let's just give you wonderful viewers a bird's eye view of what happened here. So very much Scott is still alongside Nikolai. It's not that Nikolai is in front and then Scott is yeeted on him. Pretty much
Yeah.
at the overspeed coming into the corner, was looking at the move, went for the outside, did still have this car. It was never behind Nikolai's, and then I think unfortunately Nikolai came across Scott, and Scott sort of had nowhere to go. The only place Scott could have gone would have been out here. Like you said, then that curb is treacherous, and I think we've had quite a few drivers. So I think, to me, it's I think it's a racing incident.
Yeah, I personally don't see a lot in it, really.
No.
It's side by side, two people going for the same space on track, and it just turned out bad.
Yeah, I think so. Just do one more. Let's just have a look at Scott in car. So he's alongside, doesn't squeeze. He's coming out. He's never turning into him. It's
Yeah, agreed.
agreed. Okay, so racing incident. Okay, next one, mate.
Next one is Jimmy Vark on Eric Steigen, and that is lap number 1, turn 2. Didn't hold line under braking and spun me out. Check out amazing avoidance by Thomas ahead. I can't wait.
We can't wait for this, yeah? There we go. Let's have a look. So, turn number 2.
Turn 2, yeah.
Okay. So, the little kink, basically. First lap, yeah.
First lap, yep. Yeah. My opinion is Eric is squeezing him a fair bit there.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
Considering, I mean, that's he's sorry, who was it on the other car there? Who did I say it was? Yeah, sorry, Jimmy is basically holding the off track there. I mean, if he goes any further over, I mean, he's going to be getting off track himself. So I mean, it's understandable that you want to move close to get a decent line with the other driver, but you've got to leave them enough space realistically to he's I mean, it's up to you ultimately.
no, I agree with it. I think, and this is one probably for you, Eric. I know you're brand new to the league, so it's all good on that. Is that more space needs to be given. If we watch this in slow mo, that's fine where you are at the moment. Still plenty of gap. You're coming over, still fine. Jimmy's got room on the left hand side, but when he comes out on the exit, watch how much he goes over. He's literally right over on the edge of track, and you're constantly. If we look on board, actually, you probably see trying to set up yourself for the corner, but you've got to be aware of the car. You would have been. Probably had a bird's eye view of the car in front. So if you look on,
I don't know if Eric is watching. Are you watching, Eric? If you're on the stream, can you just put a type in the chat? If you are watching.
Yeah, because you can see. Yeah, I mean, you can clearly see Jimmy's car on your left hand side. You know you're getting close.
Thank you for all the likes and everything so far, guys. We're only 2 subs away from 400, which will be absolutely insane. So we're really appreciating. Oh my good god, that was like the Rossi crash. Did you see that? Not Rossi crash. The one where he nearly gets killed. You ever seen that?
That is some amazing avoidance there.
Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh.
I think that's what you're on about there, Jimmy, when you say check out the race going forward.
I know it's not related to the incident, but can we go onto the Ferrari in front?
Yeah. Let's deal with the incident we're looking at.
Okay. Sorry.
I think that is a penalty. I think it's a level 1. Yeah, I'm sort of tending towards a level 1 on that one because he's coming over.
What happens to Jimmy's car? Does Jimmy's car get absolutely destroyed, or? No. Okay.
No, I think he loses positions there.
Yeah, he's rejoined fairly quickly.
Now, is that level 1 or 2? If it was on a corner and it hit him, it's that. I think that's just, to me, I think that's just maybe a little bit of poor judgment on Eric because he's sort of moved over rather than given the space. I don't think it's certainly not vindictive or malicious at all. I think he's just trying to set himself up and just misjudge where Jimmy is. I think that's my sort of thing is, and that's why I think it's a level 1.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's not done it on purpose. It's just a poor judgment as opposed to anything like, he's not trying to do it at the end of the day. He's just holding his line, and his line unfortunately wasn't where it should have been.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if Jimmy had got damage from that and damaged others, then it probably would have increased the severity. But I think although you did lose a few positions there, Jimmy, I think you were still on the back, and that is absolutely...
Oh my good God.
Did you miss that car?
Go on the rear bumper. Go on gearbox. Rewind it.
Snows.
Yeah, rewind. Now play at normal speed.
Let's have a look at this.
Sorry, I know this isn't quite the penalty, but this is going to be Jesus. Like, he's driving along, he's having a nice day, and oh my good God!
How did he miss that? Wow. I mean, what about
That was netcode, surely, or I mean, it should have been netcode, shouldn't it? He's basically inside him there.
So let's go on the nose. Yeah, let's have a look at it from the other side.
Bloody hell!
The Ferrari at Gordon Haig.
Yeah, Gordon's just driving along, having a nice day. Everything's fine. Yeah,
In fact, let's do
On-
normal speed.
on his line.
Oh,
What happened?
where is he?
Too many cars.
Too many cars.
You should-
too many
yeah.
cars. It was this one.
There we go. There
It
we
was
go.
Thomas Hasfag. Let's have a look. Nose cam.
Okay, there we go.
So you got Eric in front, Thomas behind. This is a bit of a carnage. Or it could have been.
Bloody hell! I think he saw it in the mirror.
I think they were all bystanders, to be honest, but I mean, it's quite impressive. Certainly one for the video reel, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah, it's insane. I'm sure Thomas Cope will get a nice photo of it.
I'm sure he will. I'm sure he would. Rear chase. That is pretty good. Okay, so that's that one, mate. What's the next one?
Next one is Jimmy Vark on Gordon Haig. Lap 1. Start, moved out of line and passed car ahead before timing line.
Track begins when four tyres are how much space could have been left. Yeah, I'll probably agree with you there, Michael. Looking at, he was just obviously looking at the Nikolai. Which one was that? Sorry, mate. It was just reading our faithful viewers on YouTube.
So it was lap 1 again. Jimmy Vark on Gordon Haig.
Okay.
It said, this is at the very start of the race. He said, start, moved out of line and passed the car ahead before the timing line.
Okay, which is a new addition to the rules. So let's have a look. So need to stay behind the car till the start-finish line.
Yeah. If they remain in formation, basically.
Right, so although it's a start-finish line, this has got a start zone to me. So the start zone, as per the thingy, is between here, which is, let's just go here. It's here, and the start-finish. So there was the start zone for the class leaders. Now, I think he goes quite early here, and this guy here
Doesn't
Eric,
go.
Doesn't go. And I think, and this is one of the things we did say in the rules, is that obviously you're supposed to stay within a relative distance of the car. You can already see the gap between Eric, I think it's Eric. Yeah, Eric, and he should be right up behind at the moment. And I think he's just trying to get a jump here. So if we look, in fact, we look on board the Steve. So let's go in the cockpit. We can see when he goes, and then we can pause it.
He's already going.
He's going. He's already going.
Yeah, he's already going straight out of that corner.
He's
He's off.
literally on the corner, isn't he?
Yeah.
So he's
on that start zone line essentially when he goes.
yeah, exactly. So although we're saying the start line, rear chase, far chase. We would expect if all cars were behind each other like we're saying and everybody goes the same, then yes, it's staying behind there till you get to the start line. But if we go back to Eric, I mean, he's already got a big gap here, so if you slow-mo it, the gap just gets bigger and bigger. So he's basically missed a trick here. Yes. So to clarify...
Oh, sorry, I just removed his message. I was trying to remove Thomas's message because it was pinned from before, but I accidentally removed Kravd's message. So I'm really sorry, mate. If you can retype it, I'm sorry about that. I literally was pressing it the second you hit enter.
Right,
There we go.
I just want to read the rules on this because I'm pretty sure we made it foolproof.
It's not. Yeah, it's not that he's faster. Essentially, it's the fact that due to the mistake of Eric, that is not the car behind's fault. Basically, so this is like a really weird area of this rule, because normally if you look at all the other guys down track, they're in what you would expect to be a normal kind of formation of when a race starts. You know, even if somebody gets the jump on you, you're not, what is that, 20 car lengths back,
Yes.
10 car lengths back. I mean, that is an obscene amount of distance to be behind. So you can't really blame the driver for wanting to stay up with the pack because the other person has stayed this far away. I mean, if it was two team drivers, for example, if his teammate was battling this guy and he thought, oh well, I'll just slow right down knowing he can't pass me anyway, that would be an unfair advantage. So you have to be realistic about this situation. I can't see any fault with him going at this point because Eric hasn't gone. That's, it's not his fault that Eric hasn't maintained at least a reasonable gap. That's my view on it anyway, personally. I hope that makes sense.
So it says every other driver must stay in formation until the pole sitter decides to go, but this must be done within the starting zone laid down by the admins for that round. Drivers may not move across the track and must stay in formation until they have passed the start line. If this is not observed, it will be classed as a jump start and a penalty will be applied at the end of the race. The level will be based on the severity of the jump stop. I'm pretty sure, didn't we have in here as well that if the driver... I'm trying to think. I'm sure we had if the driver...
We did, yeah, we do somewhere because I think we chatted about that, didn't we?
We did, yes. Because obviously it's unfair if Gordon stays behind Eric, because Eric is so far off the pace. I'm not sure what Eric... He must have been just caught napping here, because the rest of the field, I mean... Jimmy, both yourself and obviously Gordon are up where you should be, and then obviously you missed the start, Gordon missed the start, he's well back, and... Sure it is.
But if you reread the rule again, Andy.
Well, I can't see anything to say. I'm sure we said if it's class. I just need to try and find it. Each class will follow these rules and start the risk. Start procedure. So every other driver must stay in formation until the pole sitter decides to go. But this must be done within the starting zone laid down by the admins for that round. Okay, so we've already established what the starting zone is. Drivers may not move across the track and must stay in formation until they have passed the start line. If this is not observed, it will be classed as a jump start and a penalty will be applied at the end of the race. The level will be based on the severity of the jump start. So basically, by the rules written down, he has done a jump start.
Yeah, okay. So I get what Kravd is saying here. It's technically, if you want to be 100% by the rules, and I understand that the rules are the rules at the end of the day, it is a jump start technically. It's a tricky one. I mean,
Well,
it's something
you look at and thingy is Eric in formation, or is he massively out of formation? Because I mean, if you look at the rest of the field, all relatively close. I understand what Eric is doing. He's probably trying to get that jump start and get up super close and stuff like that, but completely got caught out. I mean, we can sort of see here. So let's have a look at this. So is it Eric out of formation, although he's not out of formation, so therefore he's sort of classed? Because you can see here the rest of the field's going away. Now, and this is the question now, if Gordon stayed there for whatever reason, he would be a million miles away. Because I mean, where's the gap? I mean, he's just going backwards.
Can you go in the cockpit of Gordon, mate?
Yeah.
And then play it from here. I just want to see what the distance looks like to the cars in front. Yeah, I mean, it looks worse than it is, I suppose, but I don't know. I mean, Eric just hasn't gone, has he? That's the trouble, and he's not. I don't think he's really in formation when they get to the actual the start of the start zone. I mean, what Michael said here on the chat is really interesting. He said every driver must stay in formation can be interpreted as must keep the gap to car in front as small as possible.
Yeah.
Which to be honest makes sense. I mean, if you're in a race, you stay tight, don't you, on the start? And the other thing that Kravders said is also really interesting. He said maybe just a warning this time because it's new and so borderline, and that makes perfect sense. You know, at least.
I'm sure we had in here. I'm sure we did have somebody, because if somebody completely messes up, you can't expect the driver to be behind him. I'm pretty sure we did put it in.
And I thought we did as well, because we had a discussion about it between you, myself, and Dave over Christmas.
We did.
About this.
I'll have to try and look, because obviously, if say this car spun out around this corner, then you're not expected to stay in formation, stay behind him. You can obviously clearly overtake. But then I suppose in the same vein as here is Eric is literally caught absolutely napping, and it's not the fact. I mean, if you look here, if I rear chase, he's just going backwards. The rest of the field are catching up, and then he finally gets the speed stabilized, I suppose. God damn, you guys always try to test this.
Yeah, I mean, Dean Mokes has said, from an outside perspective, is it hard to be in close formation round that corner? Would it be better leaving a bit of the straight so the formation can be gathered properly? I would say, personally, no, from driving this track quite a few times. If you look at the other guys up at the front of the field and all the other classes, they maintain formation without really an issue. So if you look at the pack that's in front right now, you know, they are together. So
Krabs, is that Jimmy? Who's Krabs? Obviously, are you I put the protest in, so I'm assuming you're Jimmy then. Krabs. Yeah. What happened to you, mate? I want to understand what you did here, because you were in the same boat as what Eric was, really. Is it because you were staying behind him? Just obviously for a bit more of an insight, or were you just staying right out of the way here?
Yeah, because what was Jimmy's track position at start? Shouldn't have he been up the back of the car on the right?
So you were watching Eric as a reference.
Oh, or was his start position at... right, okay.
So his start position was here, wasn't it? So first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, yeah. So his position was here. So he was watching Eric, but Eric absolutely howled it. And that obviously put Jimmy further back from the point of view.
Yeah, it's a combination of issues, really. I mean, yes, we'll look at moving the start line a little further down. I can't see any issue with that. We'll look at moving it further down so that we can get a bit more of a formation settled. That's not a problem. But in this incident, I personally think it's like Jimmy had said there, it's a warning, because he didn't know, and I.
By the letter of the law, that is a penalty, because until we find the spin out, because you're supposed to keep behind anyway. There's not a lot, and I suppose the reason why it may be not there is there's not a lot Gordon, with what you did there to gain. Now, what you could have done if Jimmy wasn't sleeping, he would have been upside, and you could have come right across him. And that's the reason why we say everybody stays in lane on the formation, is to get up. Now, you wouldn't have known, I think, that there was a big gap in front of you, if I'm right, because where we looked at it, it made it look worse than it was, didn't it? Because if we look here at the cockpit, it's all relatively close in front.
Yeah, we'll tighten the rules up, definitely.
I think so. I think we'll have to. I thought, and I will apologise, no matter. I thought in the rules we had, if a driver in front completely messes it up, it's acceptable to pass him. I'm pretty sure we had that.
And I thought we had as well. Let's have a look.
It's 3.11.3 is the rule I'm looking at. And then you've got the gap. Each run start. Classes underway. So we'll put this one down as an educational, like we say, for our first one. We'll tighten up the rules, but by the letter of the law, because there's no leeway in there at the moment, is, Gordon should have stayed behind Eric until the start finish line, as per the rules.
What starting position is Gordon to the other car behind him there? Not Eric.
What, Jimmy?
Yeah, Jimmy. Is Gordon's actual start position
behind Jimmy?
Behind Jimmy.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, so he's 9th and he's 8th. So by this corner.
But is that hold on, is that actually correct? Because if Eric was up, wouldn't the black Audi be...
No, it's first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, 9th.
Right,
so
okay.
Jimmy should have been a bit forward, more towards... Basically, it doesn't make sense having the run-up because you don't know when the first place is. If you have more of a gap, I suppose this is where you get these sort of incidents, because if Eric was behind this Porsche and this Porsche was behind this BM, I think it is, yeah, and then or stuff like that, yeah, you will get the slight gaps because obviously the pole sitter is getting. So you would expect the pole sitter to get a decent run, but everybody else behind him, if you're right on the tails, can literally see when he goes and a split second behind you going. This tactic, I suppose, doesn't really work when you're in it, because you can sort of see here, Jimmy's been caught out, Eric's been caught out, and then Gordon's basically kept behind Eric here and seen the rest of the field go and basically reacted a hell of a lot better than what Eric did. But Eric, if he was further up here, in my eyes, would get a better start, and that's where we would get all the cars going across the line at the same time. So Jimmy was obviously looking at Eric. Eric had a shocker. Gordon was in front of Jimmy before the line, but Jimmy should have been up here somewhere. Gordon should have been up here. So then it's all the formation. And then if we look further back, let's look at the rest of the guys. So if you look at the rest of the guys, this is perfect formation. See how close these all are together here. This is what we would expect to sort of happen. But it sort of almost gets disjointed at the front of the field here.
Yeah, I think mostly because Eric just hasn't stayed up close, and it's just been a like an accordion effect, doesn't it?
Exactly, and unfortunately, because he didn't react, and the rest of the field behind reacted, that's why Gordon's made that passing move. Yeah. So I think the learning bit here is don't have gaps like this, because it doesn't work when you're in this sort of formation. Even if you get a decent, because all you're doing is going to just jump the start and be right up the back of this one. So probably a bit to everybody is just close the field up. You don't need to be a million miles away from the rest, because if we watch, let's have a look, and it might prove me wrong.
I think there's 3 lessons we can take from this. Number 1 for the drivers: stay close, because it's a start. We understand you don't want to rear end people, that makes sense, but you can definitely stay closer than that gap. Yeah. The second thing is that for Red Bull, we will definitely move the start line up. Help me out here, Andy.
Yeah, the starting zone.
Starting zone, thank you. We'll move the
we'll make it narrower.
starting zone line. We will definitely move that up by a couple 100 yards, I would say, to stop this from happening as well. And the third thing is we'll have to just double check where we wrote in the rule, which I'm sure we did, but I guess it's not been saved, about what happens in this situation. So we'll get this all sorted out, and it's a good it's a good penalty to put in, because then we can verify it all and get it taken care of.
Do you see how close these guys are for the start? These are the obviously the pros being quite close, and they all get away in a decent battle. We didn't have the huge gaps which somebody trying to do a running start has. And if we look back at, say, the pro-ams, let's have a look at the pro-ams, see how they did, how they fared. Is it further back here? Does this gap get closed up towards the end? Yeah, so it's just closing up now, closing up nicely.
Yeah, I would say that's a bit spread, but it's still very reasonable from a starting perspective.
This, I mean, you saw the gaps we just seen there, and then we look at this gap here. It's just getting bigger and then bigger and bigger. I mean, look at that gap. That's huge compared to the other two. And that's what we're sort of saying, is keeping it up. Now, the pole sitter should be keeping a constant speed. He shouldn't be putting the accelerator on and then coming off it. He should be basically keeping a constant speed.
Maintaining the gap.
Maintaining the gap so that everybody else behind him can maintain an even gap and sort of get going. So there's sort of two things there is, we will have a look at finding out what we did. I'm sure we had in the rules anyway, but the other thing is we need to make sure we keep them gaps a lot tighter. But at least we get to see that one again. That was quite impressive there, Jimmy. I don't think it was skill, mate. I don't think it was skill.
I don't know, terror maybe?
No, you can't see no, I agree with what you're saying there, Jimmy. You can't see the leader going, but what you can see is you have this concertina effect. If you look at this front to this grid, look how close they stay together. You look how further back you guys get back here. So if you're seeing the car in front of you, if you're watching the car in front of you, which is what you should be doing, not the car to the right, because you can see now he's going to be able to go. If you're close to him, you get a better understanding of when to go, rather than being that far away. Because if we look on board with yourself,
we wouldn't be able to do that, Dean, because the only trouble is that if it was everyone went when the class leader hits the start finish line, you'll have the exact same issue where the guys were saying, well, we can't see the leader, so therefore when is he hit the start finish line? Do you know what I mean? Like right now, you've got no idea where the leader is, so if the leader was crossing the line, you could be left miles behind, basically.
I think there was no incidents and there was no accidents there. I think it's good educational for everyone.
100%.
Is where we're saying stay information. Staying information means to be a decent gap, not a huge gap away to get that running speed at people. So keeping that maintaining gap with the leader, who should be going at a constant speed. So bit of education there on that, and we will look at the rules again. I know it's another change, but I was sure that we put something in. We may have put it in, and I'll just have to have a look through it to see where we did. But we're not going to punish anybody, but it's good education. If we looked at the top two classes, they did it quite well. The gaps were pretty much constant between each of the cars, and they all had a good start. There was a bit too much of a gap mid-pack here in the Anfield, which obviously then Eric, who you were looking at, Jimmy, pretty much had you could almost call it he missed the start, really, and that's why Gordon passed him. And I'm pretty sure that we did talk about this as a team to say that if that happens, then you are allowed to overtake him, or else you're getting hindered behind the rest of the field. And you can see here by this time he's back up to normal speed.
I think what I'll do is I'll go back to the chat now, and I will actually copy out what Michael had said about how it is interpreted, and we'll use something based around that wording. because that is spot on, really.
It is. We're trying to take the interpretation out of it, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we'll just put that as racing. So, any more, mate? Any more for any more?
Yeah, we have got name of protester admin. Oh, okay. So, hang on.
What, are you looking at the bottom one? It's not. If it's the bottom one, it says. Admin,
yes.
Because
Okay.
it's an admin, it'll constantly be the bottom. It should be
Right,
the smaller
okay.
font. Is that it?
That's
Only
it. Yeah.
three?
Yeah,
Oh,
only
right,
3.
Okay, we only had 3. So I think the highlight of the day is this one. We'll watch it again because it is quite impressive. How? Let's get TV. Let's have a look. I don't think we captured this one on the stream either.
Yeah, we should definitely do the one Michael Hooper just said. Another race highlight, end of lap 19, me, Patrick and Russ just before pit entry. And then you can watch me drive by and take all their positions.
Let's have a look at that then. So, which one was that? When?
Lap 19.
Lap 19.
Yeah, end of the lap just before the corner coming into the pit stop area. I think that's the incident he's talking about. I could be wrong.
So lap 19. So it would be the end of this lap. So we go lap 20 and then reverse it out. Is it this one?
Yeah, there they are in the background there. So jump to the car in front. That was...
That's Michael.
There it is. Yeah, okay. So...
Yeah, let's have a look.
Oh... Oh...
Russ just gets it completely wrong, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
I think Russ shit his pants. Basically, it's what happened there.
He had a brown mark in his pants.
Yeah, the Merc was doing some crazy Merc things. Because it steps out massive there, doesn't it?
Yeah, it just goes there. And he's
Oh,
like, I need to stop. And then, unfortunately, Patrick's behind. But this is, I suppose, this is a story of Patrick's season, isn't it? You know, he's done really well,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, been involved in incidents that half the time are not his fault with other drivers. But I suppose that's the downfalls of iRacing, isn't it? I suppose.
can we watch it from Michael's cockpit?
Yeah, let's watch it. Because I think at the start, I think you're in position 8. I think that is 8 in the class, isn't it?
Unfortunately, picked the BMW. I can see where Michael's faster than me now.
But,
Oh my! That's almost closer than the
I think
other one.
I think there was actually contact here. He's coming around here.
It's like a Days of Thunder moment. Oh,
Netcode,
a hint of netcode. Yeah.
Luckily, that netcode wasn't more severe. I'll tell you
There's
what,
a-
Michael, you must have the luck of the gods on your side, because any normal person, your car probably would have ended up over here in the wall and flipping around about 50 million times into the air. But for some reason, you've got the lap of the gods on your side. Look at that. I mean,
Anybody else in your car would have been trashed.
100%.
Yeah, the steering would have been. Yeah, steering would have been gone.
It certainly would have. But no, so that is all the protests tonight. So there's only one penalty for Eric for the incident we saw with Jimmy coming up to turn number 3. It's actually turn number 3, that one. It's that little kink, which is very hard to see how that is actually a corner, but it's the same in Road America, isn't it?
Yeah.
That little kink going in before it goes in. But that's pretty much that one, which is quite nice that we only had three to do. But yeah.
Well, I guess that's it.
It certainly is. I mean, that's the penalties. We had an excellent interview there with James, one of the contenders that's really putting on a charge. Pity, I suppose, it's going to be the Fuji round happened the way it was. We've had to extend the season by a week. We heard Scott on the interview after the race saying he might have to miss some of the races, which would be a shame because he's severely in contention for that pro win overall, obviously. But that was just an unfortunate one that we couldn't do a lot about. iRacing screwed us over. But we've got a good couple of rounds coming up this Sunday. We've got Interlagos, and then after that we've got Fuji, which is the missed round number 7, I think it was.
One of those.
And then we got the finale, round 12 at Le Mans, 2-hour endurance race. So, I mean, as a driver, Tom, which one are you looking forward to the most?
I actually quite like Interlagos, but I also love Le Mans. I have bad memories of when your hardware failed at Le Mans, Andy. So I have bad memories of that.
That was emotional, mate.
After I did such a good start as well.
You did.
Oh God, what a nightmare! But yeah, probably Le Mans. Probably Le Mans. You know, the final one of our first season. You know, it'll be I don't want to say emotional, but yeah, no, it'll be nice to get this one in the bag and let everybody in on what's coming for season 2.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, obviously, I've done lots of seasons with the other one we shall not name. You know, I've done lots of seasons of that, so I'm used to doing leagues and protests and stuff like that. But obviously, from yourself, the very first league that you've actually been involved in running, how have you found it?
Hard, a lot harder than people think. Because you know, we love everybody, obviously, but my inbox pings like 50 times a day with questions and different bits and bobs, and you know, this is hobby, isn't it, over real life. But we're trying to do as much as we can, and you know, you've done an unfathomable amount of work in the background, Andy, that people just don't realise, and you know, I really appreciate that, so thank you, and I appreciate all the drivers sticking with us through all the nightmares that we've had, so we can get season 2 to just be smooth and, you know, cool runnings. Essentially, it's
It is, yeah. I mean, that's what it is. We always set this league up as to, we wanted to do something that's different than other leagues. We wanted, you know, like these pit stops here, where we're completely open and transparent when we go through the penalties, to give you guys the opportunity to look at how we come up. We're not stewards by any stretch of the means. Obviously, Dave, you hear him talking about his karting days, but I still don't think he's a steward. on that, but you know, we try our best and we look at it within the context of the rule, and we just take, you know, where it is, and hopefully you, the drivers, have you've enjoyed looking at this, because I've certainly seen a difference in, say, our chat on our Discord than other leagues I've been in when the penalties are done behind closed doors, because I think when the penalty comes out, it's like a big tsunami of everybody complaining. But
yeah, a lot of toxicity, isn't it, that then flies around, and it causes a lot of bad blood. At least this way, if people want to have a little bit of a say, they can pop it in the chat here, and we can go through and look at everything. And you and Dave have been doing a fab job on that as well. So, but it's nice to have a chat with the guys, and they can, you know, they can put in their 2 cents. Whether you guys listen, whether you and Dave listen or not, is is a different matter.
Well, exactly, and I'm glad somebody noticed my Cyan, Lamborghini Cyan there. Good spot there, Dean. You know, it's took me about 30 hours to make that. It's about 3,500 bits of Lego. It's huge.
Bloody hell!
It's well worth it. And any of the other observant people on the stream noticed something that was changed during the broadcast, or let's see how many guys have been observant. There's something on screen that's changed since the start, and I don't know if anybody has noticed it. You certainly haven't, Tom.
I haven't noticed.
No.
Oh God!
Something changed on the screen that you haven't noticed. Has anybody else noticed? Go on. Let's see if anybody else on.
Oh, you son of a bitch! I see it. I see it now. Thanks, mate. Thanks.
Oh, Overlord Bingham.
To be honest, I want that a permanent fixture, please.
It will be. Anytime you're on here, you are now going to be referred to as Overlord. I think I changed that when James came on.
Really? I haven't just noticed. Oh my god. I'm surprised people haven't put more comments in.
I know. I'm quite surprised nobody's actually seen that before. So, truthfully, did anybody see that change, or were you just like just realised now? I don't know, but it's it's good. But anyway, guys, really, thanks a lot for joining us. Tom, thanks for standing in at super late notice. Obviously, Dave being a little bit busy. Thanks for James for coming in. And look at that! Is that a new addition?
It is. It's a new addition to the family.
Who's this anyway?
This is Remy.
Remy.
Remy's 11 weeks old.
Oh, bless. Is that because I showed you my dog?
It is.
It is.
It's my new sim racing buddy.
Oh, bless him. Well, guys, thank you very much for joining us. It's a puppy. Yeah. Yeah, thanks for joining us, guys. Obviously, we've got Interlagos coming up on Sunday. The following week, we've got the Miss Round Fuji round. That should be super entertaining. It looked like it was going to get into a really good race, but obviously everyone got super confused. And then we got the final round of the season, the 2-hour endurance race around Le Mans to wrap it up. All 4 of the championships are still up for grabs. It's anybody's game who's going to win it, and it's whoever can keep their nerve longest to the end of the season and keep consistency. You got people in the lead that can get caught, but it's all down to a lot of them if they win or lose the championship. So still a lot more rounds to watch. Give us a thumbs up, give us a like. And obviously think about subscribing it. Get to that 400 so I can get Tom off my back. He really wants to hit that 400. But thanks for watching us, guys, and see you out on track on Sunday at Interlagos. Say goodbye, Tom.
Cheers, everybody. Bye, guys. Bye.